Thanks for checking out our video today. I'm Austin Biasi, and I'm a student physical therapist at George Fox University. I'm joined today by my classmates, Kevin Joins and Mike Stroud, and we're going to be discussing the cognitive benefits of exercise. In the literature, it shows that most adults understand the various benefits of exercise, including cardiovascular fitness, social inclusion, weight management, and strengthening, but there seems to be a deficit in the knowledge around how exercise affects the brain. So our goal today is to educate you on that topic. Mike, as our exercise science extraordinaire, how do physical therapists define physical activity?
So in physical therapy, we go by the American College of Sports Medicine, or ACSM, standard of any voluntary movement that's above your resting rate. So that uses like muscle contractions to get you there.
Okay, so physical activity could include walking up and down stairs, doing, gardening, or real exercise. I shouldn't say that, but walking, running.
Yeah, walking, running, gardening. I like how you brought that up, that it doesn't have to be like in a gym setting, but...
Okay. And so what does that look like for an individual? Is there a certain amount of time that we should be spending doing exercise or physical activity each week in order to be considered healthy?
So the American Heart Association has set a standard for us that there's vigorous exercise and moderate exercise levels. So vigorous exercise is about anything over a jog or a light jog. And they recommend that you get 150 minutes per week, which equates to about 30 minutes per day. That's a 5-day business week. That was dumb wording. And also 300 minutes a week per moderate exercise, which is anything from walking to that jog period. And that can be broken down into 5 60-minute segments. And then exercise is considered beneficial when it's longer than 10 minutes of duration at a time.
Kevin, as a neuroscience major, what exactly does physical activity do for the brain?
So physical activity does a lot of stuff in the brain. The most robust support in the literature seems to be that it supports executive function and crystallized intelligence, which are fancy ways of saying that your planning and your reasoning, your problem solving will be improved. Crystallized intelligence is basically your ability to use and apply the information that you already know. So basically both of those functions sort of orbit this idea of the things that make us most human, which is our problem solving and our ability to apply logic to situations. Both of those things are improved with exercise.
It's pretty amazing that we can enhance kind of like our human qualities of our brain through exercise. Is there a proposed mechanism that allows these changes to occur that's going on in the brain?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ideas. The first one that seems to be sort of the basis for the cognitive benefit is this idea that we can increase our cerebral blood volume through exercise, and basically what that does is it provides more blood into the brain, and then that drives things like angiogenesis, which is basically the growth of new blood vessels and capillaries that you can think of as basically adding driveways onto existing roads. So you can imagine traffic going to more places that it otherwise wouldn't be able to get to. And so that increase in the ability to get oxygen and perfuse the brain basically increases the ability for those brain tissues to function optimally. And there's this idea of blood flow being better, but also the idea of neurotrophic factors, which is a fancy way of saying that there are chemicals that basically function to foster brain cell health and foster neurogenesis. And that one specifically is called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And there are a variety of ways that is allowed to basically get to the tissues that need it. So with acute exercise, short-term exercise, the blood-brain barrier, which is the body's way of basically protecting the brain from harmful substances, that blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable. And so that's a bad thing if you're preventing harmful things, but it's a great thing if you are basically facilitating the uptake of BDNF, which exists on platelets, and basically the ability to more efficiently deliver that brain-derived neurotrophic factor allows for cell health to be improved as a result of circulation.
And then another incredible thing that happens is the increase of catecholamines. So we have like norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine. So the body or the brain's specific ability to communicate within the neurons is enhanced as well.
So that sounds pretty incredible. Basically what you're saying is exercise induces, we're increasing the amount of blood vessels in our brain going to specific areas that kind of contribute to these executive function and crystallized intelligence, topics, and that also helps facilitate distribution of important chemicals that help the health of our brain cells. That's pretty amazing, and that right there in itself should probably encourage people to start exercising more. So how soon after beginning an aerobic exercise program should people start to see the benefits in terms of cognition?
Yes, that's a great question. So during exercise, there can be immediate benefits of it. And a lot of that is based on the intensity of the exercise. So light intensity exercise has been shown to have that quick positive effect, but also after the exercise, it tapers off quickly. And then higher intensity is when you're in the exercise, it's more of like you're concentrated and there's not as much of like a positive effect there. But after about 10 minutes, that effect starts to have a higher positive effect, even more so than the light intensity. So in light intensity having that immediate kind of acute effect, it tapers off after exercise faster. But if you have higher intensity during the exercise, it's harder to get to some of those benefits because you're more concentrated. Like if you're doing a sprint, you're not worried about things around you. But afterwards, about 10 minutes, there is that increase of positive effect. And the increase is higher than the light intensity ever was.
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about this is that the acute exercise has been shown to increase BDNF concentration, which is great for brain cell health, but also there are long-term effects. And so those are the real game changers with angiogenesis and increased cerebral blood volume, as well as decreasing central nervous system inflammation. All of those things really have huge effects, and those don't really start to take effect until at least a month in, and those effects sort of compound as you continue with exercise.
Wow, so what it really sounds like is we can get a benefit from exercise while we're exercising if it's pretty low intensity, or 15-20 minutes after we're done exercising if it's a higher intensity, which kind of makes sense. I feel like people walk and talk and plan ideas in life, but if you're out doing a mile sprint, you're not going to be thinking about much of anything, but later on you tend to feel a lot better. That's pretty incredible. And then it sounds like these effects compound, they're additive, so we get the effects immediately while we're exercising or immediately afterwards, but it's more important to make these things habitual, like a lifestyle change, so we get those benefits later on as well. So based on that, is there a population of people who can benefit the most from this? Does it affect different people differently?
So everyone can benefit from exercise, and those that are less fit don't benefit as much through it as they're still trying to gain or master that task, right? There's a lot of drive through it. But those that are more fit benefit through it at a higher rate. And so as the lower fit adapt over time to becoming more fit, they will see increased improvements. Do you have any thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, so there are specific age groups where this benefit's going to be most obvious, and so that's generally the ages that have the most brain changes. So we're thinking of adolescents who are still developing the brain, and older adults that might be experiencing sort of cognitive decline as a result of brain atrophy. Those are the points where the exercise and that increase in brain health is really going to show up in terms of cognitive benefit. And so if you're an older adult and you start exercising, you might notice that your cognitive function remains the same, whereas your friends that aren't exercising might deteriorate. And obviously we would like everyone to start exercising to sort of prevent that decline. But really anyone that utilizes this information will probably be equipped to start making those positive life decisions.
Thank you guys so much for sharing all of this information in such a short amount of time. And if I can just summarize your findings a little bit, let me know if I mess up anywhere along the way. But it sounds like We should start this early in life, and we should start this often, because adolescence is this big time of changes in the brain. That's when our frontal lobe starts to develop. We know that develops up into our 20s or maybe 30s, and executive function that kind of lives in that frontal lobe of the brain. So if we can improve the blood flow and the neuron health in that area, the earlier the better. And it sounds like for people who maybe don't exercise, like, it's going to be hard to start. It might stress your system. You might not reap the cognitive benefits right away, but you will still continue to receive the cardiovascular fitness and the strength and those sorts of effects. So as that fitness improves, you're going to start to see the cognitive benefits through, you know, any age of the lifespan. And then all of this has an additive effect to kind of protect our brains as we get older, and instead of facing cognitive decline, if we stay active, especially as we become older adults, we can kind of keep our memories and keep our function and have really good last years of life, right? Do you guys have any final thoughts?
Yeah, so Austin, just to put a point on this, the fantastic thing about this is that every day if you're exercising, you're going to get sort of a short-term bump in your cognitive function, and then that those effects compound over time with long-lasting effects like angiogenesis and an increased blood flow to the brain. It's basically a 1-2 punch of short-term with long-term effects. And then one last interesting bit about the literature, it seems to support doing exercise in the morning over doing it in the afternoon or the evening. So if you're able to get up first thing in the morning, you're going to be smarter throughout the day, and you're going to get more of an effect out of your exercise in terms of cognitive benefit.
All right, so the final point that I'd just like to make is kind of to reiterate not to give up. Is it may be more difficult at the beginning, but it will ease up and you'll see the improvements. Like, you're not going to measure your blood circulation or perfusion rate or BDNF or like even your catecholamines in your brain. But you'll start to notice these feelings of improved cognition with exercise. And those are the points we're trying to get across today, is those improvements and benefits of exercise with everything else that's happening. So whether it's cardiovascular or pulmonary or whatever, like other systems being utilized, we're focusing on the cognitive part. So you may notice those other things first, and that's okay. So just keep going.
Thank you both so much for being here and sharing your knowledge and your contributions to just the general public and how we can benefit our brains in exercising. It's not just our bodies. Hopefully we can keep some people motivated to keep going through with this process and start to see some real changes in the way they think. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch our video today.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out YouTube. We have some fantastic George Fox University videos coming up with other very interesting and helpful information.
And you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Perfect. Okay.
Woohoo!
Who's the guy that played Lincoln?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Fedoras.
Oh, never had a fedora.
You play brass instrument?
Negative.
Yeah.
I can play
You
guitar.
can't be the band.
It's like this old school stupid rap song. Sheldon's feeling up.
Yeah.
Oh, man.